let's say he did really good and in 1 month he got his 10K. It's really possible that in the next month he may get his 100K. I've observed that exponential growth in business. There's something I've observed about growth, something I've observed about how things progress, and I want to share this with you guys. Have a look at this graph, an exponential graph, more like 2 to the power of x. This is not necessarily a maths course, but there is this pattern that I've seen, and it looks like many things follow it. It seems that in the beginning of doing something, it takes little. Time passes and it feels like there is not much progress. And then it starts picking up and it grows till there is so much happening in a short time compared to what was happening per unit time in the past. So let's have a look at this. A person learns a language. When you started learning English, for example, you could speak a few words. You learned 20 words maybe in 2 months. That's when you started learning English. But as you began to learn and kept at it, you picked up, and learning new languages now, learning new words now doesn't feel cumbersome. You are picking things on the side. You're picking words at the side as you go. Your brain is a lot more elastic, and you could hear a word on the news and you know it. You remember it. You use it in the next sentence. You read a book. You heard something. You get another word. When you're starting out, it feels so slow. You're learning and it feels so slow, but there is a time as it begins to pick up and it continues growing. Let's have a look at this, another one, for example. Let's say a person is doing some business. You're working. It takes you many months to gather the skills. You're learning to sell. You're learning to buy, where to buy. You're learning how to do your taxes. You're learning how to hire. You're learning how to make an offer. You're learning how to set up a website. You're learning how to, handle rejection. You're learning how to handle ups and downs. You're learning a lot of things. There is so much to learn, and it looks like there is not much progress. But then you look at a person who already learned those, who is applying them. A small percentage of tweak can give him heavy returns. What it takes to improve a business, what it takes to improve things in the big leagues, my assumption is that is a small tweak. Hiring a more experienced person, just one more person that is very good, brings in so much. A little effort now begins to have a lot of result. There is so much that is showing forth for its efforts because a lot has been going on. It's more like this. When you plant a seed into the ground, it takes a long time before the seed ever comes out. If you're looking at it in terms of growth, in terms of yield, your tree comes out, maybe you plant an orange tree. How long does it take for even the first fruits to come out? But after the first fruit comes out, it may take maybe 3 years to bring out the first fruit for some trees. But then every 6 months or maybe every 1 year, they continue to bring fruits. So it took 3 years, and then it started taking 1 year for them to consistently bring the produce that required a long time for them to get to that point. A lot of yields I have seen grow that way. So when a person understands that it compounds on itself, that it will not always take this long for results to show. The next result after the first result will take shorter. Some people say that the first million is the hardest to make, but then subsequently it would grow. It would be easier to get the others. So imagine this. A person has maybe $20 and he is growing his business because he doesn't have enough money to even pay for a website build. He doesn't have enough money to run ads. He doesn't have enough money to hire anyone to do this his business. He is having to, do so many things by himself. He is having to learn how to build a website. Is having to learn how to do all of those skills by himself. Let's say there are 30 skills. And because he's doing them by himself, it takes him maybe 4 times the time it should take. But then he does all of those and he makes his first $10,000. Out of this is first $10,000, he decides that he's going to reinvest the 5,000 out of that. He picks out maybe $200. He hires someone to improve his website. He hires someone in sales. Maybe he pays the person $2,000 for a month. And he spends maybe $2,000 on ads. For the first one, he had to go door to door to do sales. And it took so long. Maybe it even took 14 times longer. Let's say 14 times, because usually actually it can take 14 times longer. He spent this amount of money after he hit his first 10K to get someone in sales and spend this amount of money on ads. Or maybe he even spent $1,000. But I'm not saying this is the right split to spend on, in business expenses. But he invested some amount. He got someone that is an expert in web design, someone that has proven himself, someone that is really good at sales. Some people may take $2,000 plus maybe commission for every deal closed. And on ads, he spends 2K. He gets that. If he got 10K from closing 20 clients by himself, from door to door or from calling cold leads, etc., I assume that by doing this other one, where maybe he joined this other person in sales and the two of them work together, there are two people working now in sales and there are leads coming from ads. I'm assuming he may close 200 people. And by doing that, maybe he 10x'd his initial yield. And because of that, he is making 100K. For example, in the same amount of time, his growth, according to our graph, has gone in that direction. He's no longer taking that same amount. Maybe, let's say he did really good, and in 1 month, he got his 10K. It's really possible that in the next month, he may get his 100K. I've observed that exponential growth in business. I've also observed the exponential growth in education as well. We mentioned learning languages. We mentioned business. And I've also looked at it in, let me say, generally education. There is that as well. When a person has taken time to lay foundation, if we have a look at, let's say, foundation, I would digress a little. I'd look at foundation. Foundations take time. It's more like if you had to look at growth in a way of a starting point of growth, let's say starting from, some growth do not start from ground zero, even if they did. Some movement has to be done downward in the negative before we start going upward. Let's say you're with your friends and then there is a period of focus that requires some detachment to go in and learn and be away from the public eye, at least to get knowledge, where no one is seeing much of you, but they're seeing some of you, but not all of you. You are going deep to study. Some people spend 4 years. to study and get a bachelor's degree. Some people spend 6 years to get a medical degree. And afterwards, they go on to get back and grow, spending the next maybe 40 years of their lives practicing what they did. There is a foundational part that goes down and solidifies the foundation. There is a man that says that it's the depth. The depth determines how far it can grow. In that way, I usually look at trees. By observing trees, if I see a tall tree amongst, let's say, shorter trees, shrubs, it's more like this one has roots that go down. To support this, it needs to go wide and it also needs to go down. It goes sideways for nutrients, etc., and support. To draw water, it requires this long taproot, which needs to go down. Sometimes it's directly proportional in a way to how tall the tree would be. If not, it will fall. If you have that same logic kind of applies to buildings. The kind of foundation and the kind of building that stands. The strength of the foundation compared to the size of the building. If you have a tree and its root is so shallow, it's just going to fall over. It would be tossed left and right because its foundation is weak. The things that blow on the tree, let's use you or an I as this tree. The things that blow could be criticism, could be drought, seasons of lack, could be ridicule, I hope I spelled it right, could be pain, could be hate. So for a person who had not taken time to get deep and go down, would be easily knocked off by these things. Usually the growth that happens upward may not be by a person's merit. There is a book that says time and chance happens to everyone. A person may escalate upward by reason of chance and time, being at the right place at the right time. Some people may grow and escalate by reason of their effort, but in a way, it is very safe, in my opinion, to attribute it to time and chance. Being born at that time to those parents, going to that school, meeting that business partner, many things are not by our effort alone. But okay, a person escalates, and not all escalation, not all growth is self-merited entirely. Actually, it is safe to assume that it's not entirely yours. But a person grows. Some people may assume he must have a lot of roots to grow that much. But some of them might be more of time and chance. If the roots did not grow deep, the person will fall because it did not have depth. In the natural course is exponential. It starts slow, safe to start slow, and then grows really quickly. There are some that follow this pattern. A sharp one and it flattens out. And then there is another one where a person grows quickly and then falls. I will summarize with this, and I wonder why that is staying on the side. But okay, let's have a look at this. I have also noticed that life has up and down and up and down. Some ups are high, some lows are deep, and some continue. And I've also observed that when you zoom in, sometimes these have even their own ups and downs somewhere. So if a person observes that he has gone up because of a cycle, the cyclic effect, the cyclic nature of things it's really good to prepare for the next dip, because the next dip may be a person's downfall, where the person goes down indefinitely, just keeps on going down till their doom. So when a person goes up, he knows and prepares for the next cycle. But it doesn't mean that the going down will cross the baseline. The going down may stop somewhere, or may just be a flattened out stuff depending on the person's preparation for that occurrence. I know these are more like parables, but we could look at this next time. For this exponential growth topic, I think we have covered what we needed to cover on this topic. Thank you, and don't forget to subscribe.